I get the feeling that the town was, they scavenged it pretty well. I mean, when times are hard, every brick means something, and everything they could take, they would get. So, you know, it's going to be hard pressed, but I think there's probably possibility you could come across something that, you know, a trunk that somebody left and didn't know. And you know, it's a neat thing about history; it keeps turning stuff up.
People are very fascinated about it because it was a buried village, you know, and also the name is fascinating because it's supposedly straight through Earth to Singapore. That's how they got the name, apparently. In some ways, Singapore today is looked at as being an example of an environmental disaster. There is a dune buggy ride that goes through there in the summertime, which is quite lovely, and you can see some parts of Singapore.
Basically what happened out here is they deforested this whole area, cut down all the trees, and when that happened, all the sand underneath the topsoil became exposed, and that started blowing around out here, and it basically buried the town.
The end and closing days, particularly after the Great Fire in Chicago, when Chicago needed a lot of lumber to rebuild the city, the demand for lumber was unbelievable. The lumber barons came in and virtually raped the place in about 40 years, and there were no pine trees left, or very few left, and so the forests were gone.
I'm fascinated by the fact that they moved so much of it. They were able to get the entire building. They were putting them on sleds and then hauling them across the frozen river, and just that idea kind of, I was intrigued with it.
The milling took place in the mill here, and it was one of the largest mills in Michigan. Part of it is conceivably buried under the sand.
Last person living in Singapore was living in the 3-story motel. He started out living on the base level of it. As the building continually got buried, he continually moved up the floors until the sand finally got up to the point that he couldn't open his front door anymore. He walked out, went to work, and never came back.
There were some pathways through here. One was an Indian trail, so Indians came through here and they bought and traded in goods.
I found a brick a while ago. There was rumored that the bank's chimney would resurface during the right wind. And I was walking the beach and I found this brick in 2 pieces. It was right there, and I couldn't help but believe that this was a piece of Singapore. And I'm not sure if ghost town would be an appropriate name, but it kind of is a ghost town, and even more so than most ghost towns because there's less of it here. It's almost more the mystique of it. It's kind of this ethereal thing out there.